Paula Beat works here. So today we'll be covering all the news that has come out within the last week. There's been a lot of it, and I have been waiting for all of it to come out to do one big video on it. So the topics that will be covered today are Oda's 10-question Q&A, the Viricars, and the 110th SBS Corner. So starting with Oda's Q&A, first we have question 10. How strong is Figurland Garland? Well, the answer is that he's very strong, which is obvious because we see him kill someone during the God Valley incident. And of course, the question is alluding to him being at the incident, so he fought pirates, which means he's strong. Of course he is. And then we also see in the manga that he is the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, and he also oversaw the execution of Saint Don Quixote Miosgard. On top of that, he is now in the Five Elders, taking Saturn's spot as the deity of science. So yes, he's very strong. I don't know what he knows about science. Probably very little, but we'll see how that plays out. Next, we have the whole bit about the Rockyport incident. The explanation goes as follows. Since explaining it would take too long, and I don't think it will take part in the main story, but here's a summary of the Rockyport incident. Hearing that the pirate island holds an important poneglyph, Law hijacked a massive passenger ship called the Rockyport and infiltrated the island. This ship happened to be carrying the king and important noblemen of a certain country. However, the ship Law wanted to board was actually a smuggling vessel, flying the same nation's flag and involved in dealings with the pirate island, which at this point was ran by former Rocks pirate Ochoku, also called Wang Zi at some points. But to continue, which led to major trouble. Law clashed with the pirates, and soon after, Kobe and Blackbeard separately arrived on the island for their own reasons, leading to the three to join forces. As a result of this incident, Blackbeard became the king of Pirate Island, which I guess this could have also cemented him as a Yonko. We're not entirely sure if it was this or something else. I wonder what was the incident that made him Yonko, because I think it most likely was this, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see that in the future. I'm sure there'll probably be an expose about that at some point. But yeah, he became king of Pirate Island. Law became recognized as a warlord, and then Kobe was hailed as a hero, which gives him his special Cross Guild bounty. Next, what kind of system is the World Military Draft that added Fujitora and Green Bull to the Marines forces? And this is very interesting, but yeah, countries affiliated with the world government have their own soldiers for protection, like Alabasta. Through the World Military Draft, the Marines strengthened their military by drafting the most capable soldiers from these ranks. This draft also became a trigger for the recent 8-Nation Revolution, as the weakling of the National Defense Forces may have contributed to the revolutionary's success. So this is like taking the biggest dudes, like say Kaido, when Kaido was a part of, I think, the Vodka Kingdom back in the day. It's as if he was drafted into the Marines, which is interesting. But yeah, this probably did help out the revolutionaries' cause because there was no one to keep the people in line. You know, they just kind of revolted. Kind of like, and we talked about this on the podcast, kind of like if Pell and Chaka were removed from the country, people like Koza could have just ran rapid, right? Because there was no one to stop them. So that's interesting. Question 7. As the 10th ship captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, what kind of work does Kuzan actually do? And does he have any subordinates? He does have subordinates, and he doesn't see pirating in an evil way like Blackbeard. He just sees it as the freest he can be. But despite this, he does cause casualties. So yeah, he lives freely. He's not dragged down by marine bureaucracy, but at the same time, he is a Tenj Reckless. Following him, we have the 6th question, in which it says, please tell us how the bounty system of the Cross Guild works. And we have a very unique and intricate breakdown. So the Fleet Admiral is worth 5 crowns. So he's worth 5 billion berries. Admirals, of course, are worth 3 crowns, 3 billion berries. Vice Admirals are 5 stars, that's 500 million berries. Rear Admirals are worth 3 stars, that's 300 million berries. And a Captain or a Commodore is only worth 1 star. So that's just 100 million berries. Field officers, commander rank and below are worth 1 million berries. Company officers and below are worth 100,000 berries. So yeah, that goes like that. And of course, special cases such as famous Marines, like say Garp and Kobe, are worth more despite their rank. As you know, Garp is a vice admiral. Yeah, he's as worth as much as an admiral. And Kobe is a captain, which means he should only be worth 100 million berries, but he's actually worth as much as a vice admiral, being 500 million berries in worth. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. I wonder, are there going to be any more famous Marines? Question 5. The Divine Departure attack that took out Kid in one hit, was that a move taught by Roger, or did Shanks learn it from imitating it? And it goes as follows as the answer. He remembered it because he always looks up to Roger. It's not just something that anyone from the Roger Pirates can imitate, so Shanks' talent is quite astonishing. Which means Shanks stocks continuously go up, even though I think he's a fed and a fraud. His ability to copy moves cannot be understated. This is quite interesting. Question 4. The ship of Blackbeard is called the Saber of Zebek. Does it have any relation to Roxy Zebek? Zebek is the name of the sailing ship, so it could be a coincidence or maybe not. Which, I mean, he's inspired by Zebek, of course it is. So that's nothing. Question 3. Has Dragon ever lived with Luffy? Short answer, no. He hasn't. Though Oda does say, what did he think when he saw his son in Logtown? That's a very good question. I wonder what he did think when he saw his son in Logtown, pursuing to be a pirate by taking this as his last stop in the East Blue before going off into the Grand Line. I don't know. Question 2. Sabo inherited the Flame Fruit, and he's demonstrated its power to its fullest. Did he do some training to properly use the Flame Fruit? And the question is answered with a resounding yes. He is training every day. I think that Sabo, who regained his memory, remembered a lot of things. So maybe he regained the memory of seeing Fire Fist Ace all those times in the paper, but not knowing who he was. So maybe from seeing that and not having his ability, he can copy what he has done in the past. I wonder, does he have a big fireball attack like what Ace did on Blackbeard in their final confrontation? We'll have to see about that. That's interesting. But yeah, we've seen two from various shots of Sabo's flashback that he's training all the time. So yeah, that makes sense. And now the big question. Question 1. When Luffy is using Gear 5th, he pulls out things like goggles and a baseball helmet from what looks like a Hagoromo, the thing around his back, the puffy cloud scarf thing. Please tell us how it works. And the answer is simply, it's the entrance to Nika's fantasy. So, if you've been on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, you may have heard about this already. This is the confirmation that Luffy, indeed, without a shadow of a doubt, for the final time, has Toon Force. Everything that he does in Gear 5th is real. The baseball bat being painted with a bucket and brush is real. The helmet, which like the bat is ingrained with a 56, is real. The goggles, which I believe in the anime have a lock-on feature or something within them, so like technology in them, all of that is real. I have been saying this forever. Been saying it since it happened. Way back when he turned his hair into goggles. Been saying that since it happened. So to have it confirmed is very nice. It should have been obvious to everyone, but I've been seeing pushback in various areas. I don't know what this pushback is for. I don't know why people are choosing to die on this hill. I don't know what the purpose is, but this is just my word of advice to you all. I think you should quit while you're behind, because the problem with Gear 5th is that you're only going to see more of this as the story continues. I wouldn't be shocked if at some point Oda photographs his work studio and shows someone being punched out of the manga into his work studio. I wouldn't be shocked, only to be grabbed back in by Luffy. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I wouldn't be shocked if we start to see outer-versal feeds. I wouldn't be shocked. I simply would not be shocked. People can cope and seethe, but everything is possible now. Gear 5th is just that ridiculous. You're going to see more and more ridiculous things happen. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Gear 5th is going to get more and more ridiculous because, as I've said in other videos, based on Gear 4th being cannibalized by the base set, there are only most likely going to be 2 to 3 variants of Luffy at this point. We're going to have base Luffy with all the gears 2 through 4. Then you're going to have Gear 5th Luffy as a transformation, and then probably Gear 5th using Haki in some significant way, which I think is going to be the Gear 6th. But right now, at least you're going to only have the 2. Gear 5th Luffy as a transformation, and then base Luffy with everything prior to Gear 5th available to him whenever he wants. So you're going to see Snake Man and Tank Man things that we've seen already just be done in base. In fact, we have not seen Snake Man stuff, so I can't wait to see when that happens, because that's possible now. That's going to happen. He can probably pull off King Cobra and such just in base now. And then, of course, King Kong gun can be done in base. We've already seen Kong gun be done. We've seen a kicking version of an elephant-themed attack. So, brother, the sky is the limit. The sky truly is the limit. And we're going to see what happens in the future with base Luffy and then, of course, with Gear 5th. Now, moving on to our SBS. So to start things off, and seeing as how it's so close to Yamato's birthday, happy birthday Yamato, we get to see Yamato depicted as a child. What's so interesting about this is that even in her hybrid and beast states as a child, she still has the Hagoromo-like thing around her body, which mainly speaks to me thinking that she is not an awakened Zoan, but that's just a part of the fruit's transformation now. That's where things are leaning towards, because it doesn't make sense for someone to be that young, to be that talented. I don't even think Kaido got that far, and Kaido's not even awakened in the proper manga. So it's very unlikely, even though she has all the prerequisites to become an awakened Zoan. I don't think she was an awakened Zoan at age 8 or whatever she ate the fruit. I think that's highly unlikely, despite her being a very talented person. She's quite the prodigy and using Haki. I don't think she mastered the fruit immediately upon eating it. That even if she was given a year or so, I just don't think that's possible. I don't think that's happening. We find some information relating to the long arm tribe. So their elbow lengths are referred to as the friend bow and the lover bow. So these bows, these elbows, are meant to represent how close the long arm tribe member is to a person, meaning giving pun to the term keep at arm's length. So friends are kept at the first elbow, which is closer to the hand. However, lovers are kept to the elbow closest to the shoulder, meaning that a lover is closer to you than a friend. This makes a lot of sense, especially seeing as how we've done so many videos now talking about Apu joining the Cross Guild organization. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see more of Apu in the story. I wonder if Snake Necks, along with Long Leg Tribe members, all have similar things to this. Do Long Leg Tribe members have a similar saying to this whole elbow terminology thing going on? Do Snake Necks have a similar terminology. Maybe theirs is like seeing over the horizon or whatnot. I don't know. Or maybe long legs have a leg length thing about them. Don't know, who's to say. But it's interesting that we're getting such a interesting cultural dialect or reference when it comes to the long arm tribe. And I assume that all tribes have something similar to this. Like the third eye tribe, what do they have? Are your eyes determined by the size of your pupil or iris, or is iris color important? There's just a lot to go into based on this little tidbit of information here. Some things to think about. But moving on, it is hinted that, well, heavily hinted, I should say, during chapter 1103 that Kizaru actually was the one who fed Luffy, because we also see a miso soup bowl in the collection of food that Luffy is eating. And of course, when Borsalino is arriving to Egghead, he is shown sitting down eating a bowl of ramen. So, and that's one of his favorite foods that we find out in the Vivid cards. So, it is very likely that, especially seeing as how Oda says, it seems that action seemed to be done in the speed of light, that even the naked eye can't see it. Even I don't know who did it. The speed of light. So seeing as how the speed of light is being emphasized here, that's a nod to Kizaru. Now, some people have taken it as to say that One Piece characters can't perceive things at light speed, which I think is taking things wildly out of context, seeing as how Kizaru is a man made of light and has shown to be able to manipulate light, and he can even accelerate beyond the speed of light, as we've seen in his fight with Luffy. Also, it's shown very, very distinctly that he can control light. He can control light beyond its natural capability, as he's able to stop light at a point. That's how he makes his beam saber. He crafts light into a shape and wields it like a sword. Light doesn't usually stop until it bumps into something or it is absorbed. So, from the fact that he can turn light into a sword means that he, yes, is controlling light. That's the whole point of the glint fruit, or the Pika Pika no Mi, is that he can control light. He is a light man. And it even goes further than this, because he can then make copies of himself who are too made out of light. So I don't know. It seems pretty obvious to me. And especially given that people had pointed out way before this, but it was confirmed at the end of Egghead, that Kizaru was having some mental struggles with what he was assigned to do, because Vegapunk is his friend. And we've seen in various flashbacks that Vegapunk has known Kizaru for a very, very long time. So this is a very difficult thing for him to do, especially seeing as how he was the one who delivered the killing blow to Vegapunk. So yeah, tough stuff. But moving on, we have heights for all the members of Sword along with their ages. So X Drake, former Rear Admiral, is 33 years old. He's 233 centimeters. Kujaku is 26 years old, 180 centimeters. Prince Groose is 29 years old, 205 centimeters. Kobe is 18 at 167 centimeters. Commander Hibari is 17 years old at 165 centimeters. And Lieutenant Commander Helmelpo is 22 at 179 centimeters. And we get a little information about Kujaku, Groose, and Drake. They are the juniors of Drake, but they see themselves as in the same class as Drake. And Prince Groose himself is not a prince. He's just a rich kid in the Marines. So Prince is just a nickname. So his real name is Groose. We do get to see Jinbei depicted in both good and bad timelines as 60 years old and 80 years old. However, unfortunately, we do not glean anything interesting from this, because he is only worried about the growth of a person and racism. So nothing of note can be gained here. I do find it very funny that Oda refuses to draw the print of his robe here. It is hidden by another cloak. That's just personally very funny to me. Now, moving on, we now know that Fujitora is from a place called the Blue Kingdom originally, in which he was the head of the guards of that country. and it was overtaken by war. And the world government knows of this fact. He was then contracted as a slave because he lost a gambling debt in a West Blue island known as the Twin Snakes Island, and he was bought by the world government. So it says that he was a bodyguard when he was bought, but it's implied that he was probably a slave to this island because of his debt, which is crazy. And of course, he became a Marine due to the World Military Draft. Another member of the World Military Draft was Green Bull, otherwise known as Aramaki. Aramaki was a police officer in the South Blues Taya Kingdom. And although after a major incident involving a woman, which I believe there was a bit about this earlier, that's what his tattoo means. It has something to do with a movie or a film involving a woman. But yeah, after a major incident with a woman, he was imprisoned by his country. His reputation for his extraordinary strength reached the ears of the world government, so he joined the Marines and was promoted to Admiral. So yeah, he was drafted in the World Military Draft off of that. Following all of that, we have a breakdown for the 9 Vice Admirals who were at Egghead. We have Pomsky, who is the user of the Rako no Mi, otherwise known as the Otter Fruit. He is an otter human, and he attacks with a shell hammer. Following him, we have Vice Admiral Dahl, who has the martial art fighting style known as Soul Rock, which is interesting because now I've done many a video about Dahl possibly joining the Kid Pirates, and it's interesting that now she has yet another music theme attributed to her. And I did a video too discussing that her name could be related to the dog known as Dole, and that seems to be the case here because there's a note saying name isn't romanized here either, but I'm going with the canine related name as it fits the Vice Admiral pattern. Right, yeah. And this is brought to you by author, Library of O'Hara, and Pew. Sorry that I didn't bring those up earlier. So yes, thank you to author of the Library of O'Hara and Pew for breaking down all this information for the community. Next, we have Vice Admiral Tosa, who is known for the 10-finger pistol technique. And it's said that he can bite with his hands, called Tosakin. And I believe toe means 10. So that makes a lot of sense. And I do like his technique because it is shaped like a mouth with grasping with his hands in that matter. So that makes a lot of sense. Following him, and shout out to Zach because he discovered this and I did make a video about it. We have Vice Admiral Urban, who is the user of the Tatsu no Mi, otherwise known as the Barrel Fruit, making him a cannon human. So he is a gunman, and we see him use the top hat on his head as a gun barrel. So yeah, he really is a gunman. I wonder, is he in a Dofru trifecta with Baby 5 and Das Bones, as he is the gun man. So he was probably considered inferior to the powers of the arms fruit, but is probably very, I guess, similarly yoked to the dice fruit because both of them are just weapons fruits. I also wonder too, and I brought this up in a short, I believe. I'll try to find it. But it's weird that he looks like the Statue of Birth, especially when he has his arms crossed. The Statue of Birth that we see in Skypiea. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if he's a different race or not. He looks very different from other people, but he could just be ugly. I'm not sure, but that's very interesting. Following him, we have Vice Admiral Bluegrass with the Ride fruit, otherwise known as the Nori no Mi, making her a pilot human. She can turn any object or living being that she passes in hockey into a mount. She is the sworn elder sister of Great Advisor Tsuru, which I figured that she had a relationship with her. I've joked about that many a time. So it's funny that it's finally confirmed here. Now, the surpassing in hockey bit is an interesting thing to think about because I wonder, does that apply to fruits that transmogrify people? So like, let's say if you had strong enough hockey and guarded yourself, could you be unaffected by the transformation powers of the age fruit? Because if so, that might mean Bonnie could just be catching people off guard, or she's a lot stronger in hockey than we realize, because we do know that she can utilize hockey because she did perform Elephant Gun pretty accurately. So we have to see about that. We have to see. But following her, we have a guy who I thought was a bit of a lamer, but this turns out to be a very interesting individual. We have Vice Admiral Hound, who has the dog fruit model hound. Now, a hound can be a variety of dogs, as I found, but a hound is usually just referred to as a hunting dog. Yeah, a hound is a type of hunting dog used by hunters to track or trace prey. This is very funny when you consider that he joined the Marines at the same time as Smoker. Smoker is known as the White Hunter or sometimes as the Chaser. So it's very funny that both of them joined the Marines at the same time, and they both have a very similar, I guess, designation in a way to their names. One is called the Hunter. One technically turns into a hunter and becoming a hound, which is a hunting dog. So I found that pretty cool. It's really seems like a basset hound is the dog that is often referred to when talking about a hound, more so a basset hound. So I don't know if hound can become a basset hound or what type of dog he can become specifically, but we shall see in the future. Following him, we have Vice Admiral Red King. So it is not confirmed that he is a snake neck, though he really does look like one. We'll have to see. If he is one, he would be the first confirmed purebred snake neck in the series, as the rest of them are part human thanks to being Big Mom's children. However, not much really about him that's interesting. We just know that he has a right knuckle that blasts forward with the power of a steam engine. So he's a cyborg with a steam-powered hand. Okay. Following him, we have Vice Admiral Guillotine, who does not have a devil fruit, but can just use the blade on the top of his head like a boomerang. So he's kind of like Cut Man from Mega Man a little bit, which is very funny. Now we have a funny bit, and this is the last bit, well, one of the last bits concerning the SBS 110. We have a question regarding Gear 5th and his expansion and why his clothes expand with him. And the reason is because if they didn't expand with him, his wee-wee would pop out of his pants. Which is very funny. The only odd part about this is that we've seen pretty distinctly, several times now, I think, that the hat does not expand with his body. Everything else does, but the hat does not expand. And we get a great shot of this in Egghead, where you see the tiny straw hat on like the nape of a giant Luffy's neck. So it's very funny. The string expands, which is also great. But yeah, the hat itself does not expand. So I wonder what's up with that. Don't know. And the final bit is that the Gorosei get their suits from an East Blue tailor in the Kingdom of Longboot. And that tailor's name is Nerano Ne Armani. So it's a pun off the real world clothing design and designer Giorgio Armani. So that's very funny. And here we see a little cat guy saying, "Being naked truly is the peak of fashion." Oh no. So, slogan of the Fashion King. All right. I wonder, is this cat guy the Fashion King? Because you know what he looks like? Or who he reminds me of a little bit? He kind of reminds me of Moji. He's either a Moji or he's like a cat mink. I wonder, because yeah, Moji was from the East Blue. So it'd be really funny if his dad was a big fashion guy, and he usually is walking around partially naked. Most of the time he's only wearing shoes and pants, and he uses his body hair to style himself, which seems to be this old man's bit here, if this really is Nairano Namani, just because yeah, he appears to be naked. Or this could simply be a logo of the business, I'm not sure. But I think this is the actual guy who's the clothing designer. So that's great, that's great. And with that, that's SBS 110 done. And now we move on to our various Vivid cards. So starting our Vivid cards off, we have the timeline of Vegapunk. So 39 years ago, he is convened as one of the founding scientists of MADS, a laboratory of peace. 36 years ago, he discovers bloodline elements and is published in the World Economic newspaper. 26 years ago, he is arrested by the world government, who perceives the research of MADS as dangerous and buys out MADS. Wow. Did not know they bought out Mads. That's crazy. So I guess they bought out Mads and let everyone else loose but Vegapunk, maybe seeing them as too much of a liability, or maybe they left on their own accord. Don't know. 4 years ago, Punk Hazard is involved in a great explosion, and he moves his laboratory to Egghead. And I know Caesar Clown was the last one working with him, so maybe that's why they have more of an intimate relationship with one another than the others do with him. So that's interesting within itself. I wonder, are we going to get any more sort of perspective on Vegapunk from Caesar Clown's point of view? But 3 years ago, he cut his head and creates Punk Records. 2 years ago, he creates clones of himself, giving birth to the 6 satellites. So the satellites were literally created during the time skip. And that brings us up to the present, in which he is killed by Kizaru and he gets his message out to the world. So that is the breakdown of Vegapunk. Kind of interesting. And then we also get various sketches of Vegapunk. And yeah, his head is said to be at its max over a dozen meters tall. Now, 12 meters tall translates into feet to be 39 feet tall. So Vegapunk at his height presumably is 39 feet tall, roughly, counting his head. We get Punk Records in color, which looks pretty cool. And then we have a breakdown of the 6 satellites of Vegapunk. All of them were born during the time skip, so they're all technically 2 years old, but they have different biological ages, meaning how they are physically aged. And some of them are troubling. Well, one is troubling because of the thumbnails I have made. But, I blame it on the official, as I always do. It's not I who depicted these characters in this way. It is how they were drawn originally. So I take no responsibility whatsoever. So, we have Vegapunk Shaka, Vegapunk 1, the good. He was born on March 22nd, like they all were. He is 30 years old physically. He is 220 centimeters tall. His blood type is S, like all of them are. He was born on Egghead, obviously, and his favorite food is milk porridge. Following him, we have some sketches. It seems like he might have been a woman at some point, or maybe I'm just reading this sketch wrong because it seems like there's some hips here. But that's pretty neat. But moving forward, we have Vegapunk Lilith, Vegapunk 2, the representation of evil. She, thankfully, is 24, and she is roughly as tall as she is old, because there's a 2 and a 4 in her height, as she is 204 centimeters tall, making her around 6'8", which is crazy. She's a big lass. Her favorite food is chicken steak la de diable, which is just deviled chicken, which is funny. And she's origin is from Egghead, as everyone else's is, and she too was born on March 22nd. Following her, we have sketches of her too, and there is a fit of her with Atlas's jetpack, and she has a bit of an open concept thing going on, as she has some shorts and an open jacket. Perhaps this is similar to an outfit that she'll get in Elbaf if she changes outfits. We'll have to see, because I assume too she'll probably ditch the boots, as there's no need for them anymore, and probably swap them out for furry boots. But we'll see. Following her, we have Vegapunk Edison, the third one, the Vegapunk of ideas. And he is 18 years old physically. He is 100 centimeters tall, making him around 4 feet, and he likes pie and coffee. However, he lets York eat most of his meals, which is not a thing for Lilith and Shaka, which is interesting. And from how he talks in the anime, maybe he'll be depicted as country in the dub. I haven't heard him in the dub yet. But yeah, it seems as though he's a country or a hick Vegapunk, which is odd. I wonder why the Vegapunk of ideas is depicted in this manner. That's kind of weird. We have sketches of him. I kind of like the one that looks like Mr. Peanut. We got a mummy one, which is very funny because Halloween just passed. We have a Mr. Peanut one, and he was going to be a cat, and he was going to have a backpack similar to Pythagoras, which is also very interesting. And one version of him was going to be like a little washing machine guy, or maybe a rice cooker. So that's funny too. I like that. But yeah, moving on to Pythagoras, he is the fourth Vegapunk, the Vegapunk of wisdom. And he is 26 years old physically, which is weird because he seems to be fully robotic. As we know, there is a detachment that he goes through in which his head pops off his body and he's a little smaller version of himself. He is 341 centimeters tall, which is around 11 feet tall, and his favorite food is vegetable juice. However, he lets York eat most of his meals. So the two robotic Vegapunks take part mostly in eating through York, which is funny because they are two of the three Vegapunks that don't have visible mouths. So I find that very funny within itself. There's a funny sketch of him, of which he was a potato, which is great. A potato with a little star and a wind-up key for a topper, which is great. Following them, we have Atlas, who is 16 years old physically. She likes curry rice, which is Japanese curry. She is 729 meters tall, which translates into being around 24 feet tall. So yeah, the Kaido jokes were pretty apt, as Kaido is around 20 feet tall as well. Well, he's actually 23'4". So she's a little bigger than Kaido, a little bit, because Kaido in centimeters is 710 and she is 729. So she's bigger than Kaido. That's wild. And then for further reference, Charlotte Linlin, otherwise known as Big Mom, she's significantly bigger than Kaido. I didn't know that. She's 880 centimeters tall, making her 28'10". Wow. Did not know that. So the more you know. But yeah, it's weird with her sketches because there are two that look significantly older than what we got, seeing as how they're a bit more hippie. So that's kind of wild. Huh. And then the one in the middle is more akin to what we got, as she looks like a little girl. So yeah, interesting. And now the troubling one. The last Vegapunk. Vegapunk York. Vegapunk 6, the Vegapunk of Greed. She is 16 physically. I thought she was way older. Brother, that's something. Ooh boy, pulling the collar a little bit. That's a little alarming. It's funny that there's a 6 in her age. I do find that funny, like there's a 2 in Lilith's age, but I did not expect her to be that young. I thought she was like 26 or 36 or a bit older because she appears older. Like the crop jacket could read younger, I guess. And especially like the little oxhorn hair bun things, that could read younger, but at the same time, she's gigantic and she's wearing panties all the time. Just bare panties. It's wild. It's wild that she's 16. Her favorite food is hamburger. So that's very American pill, which she looks very Caucasian, as she has blue eyes and blonde hair. But yeah, so she's very American pilled, or perhaps Germany pilled, because hamburgers come from Germany, and we as Americans have invented the cheeseburger, I believe. So yeah, very interesting. And she is 482 centimeters tall, making her around 15 to 16 feet tall. So that's wild. That's wild that she's that big. And she's as big as she is old, because she is 16 feet tall and she is 16. So yeah, I have no words. I'm a little shocked. But the sketches of her are fairly interesting because she was once supposed to be a frog. So I wonder in the future, will she get like a frog devil fruit? Seeing as how he has frogs on the mind with her. And then there's this other sketch that looks like some sort of reptilian, like it's a crocodile or something, and it's on its back. So I wonder what that's about. And yeah, he always had the idea that she would get obese from eating immensely and then just become skinny. So I guess even now, as a free woman, apart from anyone having to eat for, she will continue that trope. I wonder what her life is going to be like now, though. Especially seeing as how she is with the world government and they're going through a bit of a food crisis now when it comes to the celestial dragons. So I wonder if those old videos of mine are going to hold true and she will actually become a Blackbeard pirate because they have more resources. I don't know. We'll have to see, seeing as how the world government did lose Punk Records. So who's to say what will happen? Very interested in her character moving forward, though. I really am. We get some Vivicar information Following that, about Rob Lucci. Not too much that we haven't learned about before. His flower motif is the Rebecca. If he wasn't an intelligence officer, he'd be a pigeon breeder. His favorite type of island is a winter island during winter. He's from the Grand Line from Guanhe or Ganho. And Ganho is the place in which the CP9 members are trained, or Cypherpole agents are trained, I should say. So it's the birthplace of the six powers, which is interesting. Very interesting. So I don't know if he's just from there. Was he born there? That's an interesting thought. And he is a user of Armored Hockey and Observation Hockey, and he is currently 30 and a member of the Cypherpole Agent Zero, and it's called the Massacre Weapon. So yeah, funny that he's referred to as a weapon as well. And there are various sketches of him. It's just like, what if the Awakened variant of the Cat Fruit model leopard had like bigger hands, which looks kind of neat, Then we get an age confirmation of Hattori. He is age 20, and I looked it up. In captivity, pigeons can live from 15 to like 30. They can live for a significant amount of time when raised properly. So that's not too out of the way. It's just kind of weird that he's so old as a pigeon. He's a very mature pigeon. That's kind of odd. And next, we have Stussy. And I have to say, I called it, baby! I was right. I was right about a lot. A lot of people were saying that she had like a mythical fruit. I never said. I always knew that she was going to be a normal bat. The only part I was wrong about was that I thought the fruit that she had was going to be a smile dough fruit. That's not the case. She is the user of the regular bat fruit. However, in my video, I said that she was going to be a vampire bat, meaning the actual animal. Even though it doesn't say bat fruit model vampire bat, I'm still taking into consideration that it's probably just that she's still a vampire bat. So, brother, I called it. I'm taking it as a W. I'm taking it as a W because she does drink blood. Not all bats drink blood. Only vampire bats do. So she is a vampire bat. She is. She drinks blood and she sees an infrared, which vampire bats do kind of do. They do have senses that allow them to see an infrared. So, brother, we called it. Go watch that video, baby. I am cooking with gas. I'm telling you what. Woo! We called it. Yes, sir. I knew it. I knew she was a noble Zoan. I knew it. So we have to find out what the bat fruit actually looks like. And I wonder, is that going to come out in the One Piece magazine at some point? Because I know the next issue is supposed to come out on December 4th. I don't know if we're going to get any Del Fruit reveals in that, but it will be really interesting because, like I've said, I think in 2 videos now, that there is a Del Fruit that Caesar Clown is holding in chapter 1072. Now, I thought that was an artificial Del Fruit. It may not be because it doesn't have swirls, though, like the snake fruit model Yamato no Orochi. That could be fixed. That could just be edited to look like a normal Del Fruit. That's a possibility. Could have been a mistake. Because it's weird that Del Fruit shows up in the chapter of which Stussy is revealed to 1, be a clone, and 2, be a Del Fruit user of this particular fruit. So, hey, a point knocked off for her uniqueness, but still, first clone in human history, a member of the Pleasure Corner, which is still a weird thing to me. Because I still think if she does end up being a more main character, she may be our ticket into the insights of how the underworld works, because that has just been a looming thing throughout the course of the story so far. So I'm just waiting to see what becomes of that, because I do think she's our ticket into that, because it just seems appropriate. But as for her other Vivicard information, she is age 36. Now, with that, I've been thinking, what if she's age 36 forever? I don't know why she gives me that vibe, but just based on how women tend to age in One Piece, if they are evil or whatnot, seeing as how she's 36, she's almost 40, and she still looks fantastic, she may not be normal in that way. She may be immortal, especially given how she's a clone. And I don't think she was brought into the world as a normal person. I don't think she grew up as a little girl. From what we see from the Kuma flashback, it seems as though she just came into the world as perhaps a 36-year-old woman, because that might have been how old the original Buckingham Stussy was at the time in which this Stussy was created. Also, She was born on the Mads Lab ship. So the ship that we see behind Dufeld and that one Mads cover story panel, that's where she was born at. On top of that, I'm starting to wonder if that was the ship that Frankie found after he got ran over by the sea train, like a lot of people have speculated. It would be super weird that the origin of cyborgs, basically, narratively, and the origin point of cloning narratively both took place or both were involved with that ship, because Frankie, being the first cyborg in the series, built himself up with parts from that ship. And then that was the birthplace of Stussy, the first human clone. So that's why I'm saying if she does become a Straw Hat, I could see it. And then being a bat, being nocturnal, perfect position for Lookout, if you ask me. I don't know. It makes a lot of sense, dog. I don't know. There's a possibility in the future. And then, too, she does strike me like how Robin's relationship is with Frankie in appearing in his story, because even though Frankie was the main character of his tale, obviously, it's funny that Robin appeared in it. Much like how, even though the Kuma flashback technically is a joint story between Kuma and Bonnie, with Bonnie, I guess, kind of superseding Kuma a tinge because she's experiencing it through Kuma's memory bubble, as well as experiencing her own story through the eyes of another, you could say. So it's funny that even though we have that, Stussy appears, I think, at least twice in that story. And in that story, she's questioning her own humanity as Kuma is losing his. So it's all very interesting because it gives me a similar vibe to how Robin appears in Frankie's story. And the reason why Robin and Frankie are significant, because like Bonnie and Stussy, they are important to raising the ceiling of something in One Piece. Robin introduces us to the historical aspects of the One Piece story, being our main gateway into what poneglyphs are. Frankie raises the ceiling of what technology is in One Piece because he is the first cyborg in the narrative. So, with Stussy, she, in being the first clone, kind of not raises the ceiling, but contextualizes what we have seen already. So you, in a way, you could see her as the origin point of cloning in the narrative, like how history and cybernetics are contributed as the origin points when talking about Robin and Frankie. Then with Bonnie, Bonnie is a raising of the level of what is possible for Devil Fruits to do yet again, like it has been, say, with Brooke. And a lot of people present on Thriller Bark, like Perona and Moria, because all of them do things that we have never seen Devil Fruit do in the series at that point. Same thing with Bonnie. The Age Fruit is doing things we have not even considered. Pulling out possible realities from the ether and bringing them into flesh is something completely unique and only involved with her at this point. There could be other Devil Fruits that are similar, but there's never been anything quite like her. So that's why I say Stussy and Bonnie could be very, very important moving forward. And of course, Stussy's animal motif is the bat. She likes collecting cosmetics, and her favorite food is apple pie, much like Vegapunk's. And she is 5'10". She is 5'10". So that's pretty neat. Following that, moving forward, she's also a user of observation hockey and armored hockey. And looking at the sketches, it seems like, very interestingly, she was going to be the user of the House Cat Zone. Perhaps the cat fruit model black cat, because we do see a sketch of her as a cat. So her and Marguerite were both going to be users of the cat fruit model black cat at one point. She was also going to be a panda, it looks like. Some sort of spiky thing, maybe a hedgehog, and then a bird. Probably a crane or a stork of some sort. So that's interesting. Hey, another cat fruit spotting. Another cat fruit house cat spotting. I don't know, bruh. Both of them have been females. One was Marguerite, and now we have Stussy. We'll see. We'll see. Watch that video about Vivi I made for the second year anniversary for the channel. It's some interesting stuff. But moving forward, we have Senamaru, who was the former Marine HQ Science Corps squad captain and the former bodyguard of Vegapunk. Because now both of those things are not his occupation anymore. We don't know where he will go. But he was born on March 10th. He is 34. He is 279 centimeters, which is 9'1". So he too is a large lad. Of course, he is a user of observation armored hockey, as he's one of the first people in the series to use hockey offensively back in Sabote Archipelago. And he is worth 500 million berries because of the cross guild bounty system. He was born on Mount Kintoki, which seems like a new location. Don't know. And then his animal motif is the tiger, which I think relates back to what he's based on, if I remember correctly. Not sure. But continuing, we have Bartholomew Kuma. Of course, he is age 47. He is a user of observation hockey and armament hockey. He has the pawpaw fruit. He is from the Sorbet Kingdom in the South Blue. His former bounty was 296 million. His hobbies are traveling, fantasizing, which is the same as Yamato, and writing letters. And the note is the same term used to describe Nika's fantasy. So maybe dreaming of a free world, or fantasizing about a free world, or fantasizing about the free world that Nika envisions. I'm not sure. His least favorite food is lobster, but he loves honey and salmon because he is a bear. Like, once again, the pawpaw fruit is attributed to the most bear of bear characters. Two characters literally named Bear, but continuing. He is huge at 22'7", which is 689 centimeters, and he is described as both a buccaneer and a pacifista, which makes sense seeing as how there are so many pacifistas you basically can't consider them a race, like the toys of Dressrosa or the zombies of Thriller Bark. And he is the former warlord of the sea and the former king of the Sorbet Kingdom, and he has been called the tyrant, the pacifist, and a superhero. So that's pretty neat. Going to his wife, Guinea, she is 39 years old at the time of her death, which is crazy. Her blood type is F. She is 174 centimeters tall, making her around 5'7", 5'8". She, too, is a lover of meat on the bone, and her bounty as a Revolutionary Army member would be 190 million berries, making her about 50 billion berries higher than her daughter Bonnie. Guinea also is supposedly originally from the Porco Kingdom, which seems to be a pun on the term pork. Don't know about that, but that's interesting. Her birthday is October 21st, so her birthday just passed, and she was the commander of the Eastern Army of the Revolutionaries. So that's all pretty cool. Next we have Connie. Connie is the Queen Dowager of the Sorbet Kingdom. She is 76. Her birthday is the 21st of May, which is funny that Guinea is the 21st of October. So literally 5 and 10. 5 and 10. Luffy and Bonnie's numbers, presumably. Interesting. She is 73 centimeters tall, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny lady. And being like 2'3", very small lady. Chopper-sized lady. But yeah, her blood type is XF. Of course, she is from the Sorbet Kingdom in the South Blue. And her favorite food is strawberry sorbet when feeling tired of baking too much pizza. So she likes pizza, but she also likes strawberry sorbet. Now, moving on to the Seraphim characters. Here is a blanket statement for all of them. All of them have armament and observation hockey out the gate. Oh my goodness. That is insane. Wow. Crazy. How potent are their observation and armored hockeys? I don't know. The interesting part about this is that we know that there's a Seraphim clone of Boa Hancock and of Don Quixote do Flamingo. So in the future, will they develop Conqueror's hockey? I don't know. But that's certainly very interesting to think about. All of them are 8 years old biologically, but were born 2 years ago, so they too were born during the time skip. They're all from Egghead. Now, what's interesting is that every single one of them, with the exception of S-Bear, is significantly taller than the original. On top of that, all of them share the same food favorites as the originals, with S-Hawk being the exception, as he is too young to drink red wine, so he drinks grape juice instead. With that being said, S Snake is 208 centimeters tall, making her 6'8". Then we have S Shark. S Shark is around 320 centimeters tall, making him 10'4", which is taller than Jinbei, who stands at 301 centimeters, making him 9'11". So that is insane. And then we have S-Hawk. S-Hawk is 212 centimeters tall, which puts him at around 6'9". 6'9". Now, Mihawk, being the tall man that he is only 6'6". So S-Hawk as an 8-year-old child is significantly bigger than the adult Dracula Mihawk. I wonder how big S-Gecko or S-Bat is going to be, or the likes of Don Quixote Doflamingo with, I believe it's, well, he hasn't been named yet, but he could be called S-Flamingo. I wonder how big S-Flamingo is going to be. So yeah, and then S-Bear is only 21'7", so he's a foot shorter than the original Bartholomew Kuma, who stands at a mighty 22'7". So yeah, now with those being covered, we have Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, who is one of 2 of the old Marines that we know so far who can use Conqueror's Haki, and one of 2 Marines in the series that have all 3 types of Haki, the other being Sengoku. Of course, his bounty by Cross Guild is worth 3 billion. His personal justice is called My Justice, which is based. I love it. That's probably why he has Conquerors, because his form of justice specifically applies to himself. His animal motif is the Saint Bernard, in reference to the dog mask that he had during the start of this narrative, and he is 78 years old. He is called Garp the Fist, Hero of the Marines, and the Marine of Legends. So yeah, big dog Garp. And he's from the Goa Kingdom in the East Blue. I don't know if that was ever said, but yeah, he's from the Goa Kingdom. Moving on, we have Kobe, who is a user of Observation and Armored Haki. Of course, he's a Special Marine, so his Cross Guild bounty is worth 500 million. His favorite type of island is the Spring Island during fall, which is kind of interesting. We actually have a origin point from him. Like Luffy, he's from the East Blue. However, he's from a island called Let Fish Island, which I think is a pun on him accidentally joining Alvida while on a fishing trip of some sort, if I recall correctly. I have to look that up. But yeah, that's funny. His flower motif is the red clover. His birthday is May 13th. He is 18, and he is a former navigator and errand boy of the Alvida Pirates, but he currently is a Marine HQ captain and a sword member, called, much like Garp, a Hero of the Marines. So that's pretty neat. That's pretty sweet. Following him, we have his partner in crime, Helmeppo. It always throws me off that he is older than Kobe at 22. His animal motif is a skinny Lyracan, which looks like a hyena, so that's funny that we continue the dog theme. And Helmeppo sounds like hyena a little bit. His birthday is July 16th. His favorite food is luxurious steak and caviar. His least favorite food is sweet onigiri, which is what Rika made for Zoro back in the day. He is literally from Shellstown, which I don't know, I didn't expect that. And his Cross Guild bounty is 100 million berries. He only knows Armored Haki, which is funny seeing as how he's wearing a visor all the time, but maybe in wearing that visor, he's trying to train his Observation Haki. I don't know, but that's funny that he can only use Armored. Haha. Next we have Hibari. The funny part about Hibari, as has been noted by people in the past and now, that her ocean of origin and her blood type are very similar to Sakazuki's. So perhaps she is his daughter or a cousin of some sort. We have to wait and see. But she could use Armament and Observation. Her bounty would be 200 million berries. Her favorite food is honey, which is interesting. She's from the North Blue, which by that distinction, Sakazuki is also from the North Blue. Her blood type is F, which Sakazuki's blood type would be F. And she is 17 years old, which I expected her to be older as well, but okay. Following her, we have Kujaku, the granddaughter of Suduru, and she is a rear admiral, much like Prince Bruce. Her birthday is September 18th. She is 26, which is what I expected. Her blood type is X. She too is from the North Blue. Her favorite food is juice and Western sweets, which I don't know what a Western sweet is. Perhaps a donut? Her cross skill bounty will be 500 million berries, and she is the user of the Munchy Munchy no Mi, known as the Whip Whip fruit. She is a user of Armament and Observation Hockey, so that is sweet. Very cool. Moving on for her, we have the boy Borsellino, otherwise known as Kizaru, whose birthday is November 23rd. He is 58. And like I said during the question and answer segment, his favorite foods are miso ramen, shogo ginger, bananas, and he does not like lemons, which is funny. His hobby is smoking meat. He is from the North Blue as well. His justice is ambiguous justice or unclear justice. His bounty, seeing as how he is a admiral, would be 3 billion under cross skill. And he is the user of the Pika Pika no Mi, otherwise known as the Light fruit or the Glint Glint fruit. He is a user of Observation Hockey and Armament Hockey. It is also known that when Borsellino and Sakazuki first joined the Marines at the same time, which was 32 years ago, they came to be known as the Monster Rookies. So it's funny how they parallel with the Straw Hats in that way, because the top 3 Straw Hats are known as the Monster Trio. So that's funny. I wonder, is Kuzan included in that Monster Rookie designation? I wonder. But following that, we come to Prince Bruce, who is 29 years old, is born on October 20th, and is from the West Blue. His favorite food is potato chips. It says here, probably a pun on Pringles, because Pringles, I guess, sounds like Prince. I'm not sure. He is worth 500 million berries. He is the user of the Gunya Gunya no Mi, or the Gloop Gloop fruit, or the Glorp Glorp fruit. He is a user of Armament and Observation Hockey, and originally he was going to have a fruit called the Shuku Shuku no Mi, which is translated into the Cut Cut fruit. So perhaps that was a fruit similar to, say, I don't know, the Dice Dice fruit or the Snip Snip fruit held by Inazuma and Das Bones, respectively. So we'll have to see about that. Maybe somebody in the future will get the Cut Cut fruit. Don't know how that's different from dicing or snipping, but maybe it is. Who's to say? So that's in the junk drawer with other fruits such as the Stegosaurus fruit back in the day, which was supposed to belong to Black Maria, and also the Sage fruit, which was also a fruit that was supposed to belong to Black Maria, and the flower fruit that was the original Logia type dough fruit for Katakuri. But yeah, all those, we'll have to wait and see if any of them are used. We get some information on Blackbeard, but nothing too unique. His favorite island is a summer island during spring. His flower motif is the red spiral lily, which is associated with death in Japan. He is 40 years old. And what's interesting about this that I almost forgot to mention, he does not have Conquerors. He is not a Conquerors user. He's in the same boat with Buggy as a Yonko, who cannot use Conquerors hockey. Buggy does not have any hockey confirmed, and Blackbeard only has Armament and Observation. So only Luffy and Shanks have Conquerors at this time, while carrying the Yonko title. That's wild. And of course, his bounty is 3,996,000,000. So that's pretty cool. And his birthday is August 3rd. Following him, we have Kuzan. Not much to say about Kuzan. We do know that he has Armament and Observation Hockey, and he is from the South Blue, from the Vespa Kingdom territory. Which I guess Vespa may be a pun on a moped of some kind, seeing as how he is introduced by riding his bike over the ocean. And that is a hobby of his, bike riding. So, yeah, I don't know. He was born on September 21st. His ship is the Saber of Sebek. And he is the 10th Titanic captain of the Blackbeard Pirates. And that's about it for him. His animal motif is the pheasant, which we kind of figured because, I mean, Aokiji literally translates to blue pheasant. And the timeline for Blackbeard goes as follows. 1 year ago, defeats Whitebeard pirate remnants in the Payback War. Around 1 year ago, after the Payback War, he meets Kuzan in the New World and convinces him to join his crew. And then somewhere between 1 to 0 years ago, he seizes control of Hachinosu, defeating Wang Ji or Ochoko in the Rocky Port incident, which we talked about a little earlier. So that's pretty neat. That's the timeline for him. Now, all the new locations that we have in this Vivid card set, and many thanks to Arthur of the Library of Ohara, because he makes a list of all these, we have Grand Line, Owl Kingdom, or Blue Kingdom, which was Iso's homeland, Fujitora's homeland. We have the West Blues Soja Kingdom, where Iso Fujitora was recruited. The South Blues Taya Kingdom, which is Aramaki's homeland, Green Bull. We have Grand Lion Mount Kintoki, which is the homeland of Sitamaru. Didn't think that was a location we knew before. Interesting. We have Grand Lion Porco Kingdom, the homeland of Guinea. Yeah, we have the Let's Fish Kingdom, known as the Sata Suruzo Kingdom, which is Kobe's homeland. Also, if he was a Marine, he'd be a nursery teacher. Forgot to point that out. So that is what Kobe would be if he wasn't a Marine. But continuing on with the new locations, we also have the Vespa Kingdom, which is Kuzan's homeland, and the Shade Port, which is Blackbeard's homeland. Forgot to point that out. So perhaps the Shade Port, going back to how Blackbeard is depicted as a child, is a snowy country because he's depicted in snow as a child, I believe, during a crescent moon. And it's said that people from snowy countries, I believe in chapter 180 or so during Drum, it's said that people from snowy countries don't sleep. And we know Blackbeard doesn't sleep. So yeah, Shadeport could be a snowy country. And especially seeing as how it's called Shadeport. So I mean a port obscured from the sun. At least that's what it sounds like. So that's super interesting. And yeah, that's on the Grand Line. So on the Grand Line, anything can happen. There could be any sort of weather condition. Continuing on, Gatharina, who was a maid introduced during Ennis Lobby, had the hots for Rob Lucci. It seems as though Jabbar wasn't the only one who had the hots for her. Who's Who also had the hots for her, but she dumped them both because Lucci is just too handsome. We are also introduced to Mizura, which is Robin's cousin, the daughter of Olivia's younger brother, and she was the same age as Robin, born 30 years ago. However, she did not like Robin as she viewed her as an outsider, interfering with her family. So literally jealous of the cuter cousin, it seems. Her mother, Roji, was very abusive towards Robin, hating the fact her husband, Oran, took her in without asking her first. So he is a weak-willed man who doesn't hold much power in the family and is bossed around by his wife. So very abusive family all around, and Mizura probably turned into a real piece of work when she got older, which is kind of funny but kind of sad. So Vegapunk, whose birthday is August 9th, is 65 years old. He is 314 centimeters tall. Oh my god. So Vegapunk is 10'3". Oh my god. With the head chopped off. Because like with the head bigger, he's way taller, but you account the head. But with the head chopped off with just the apple attachment, he's 10'3". Oh lordy, wow. Didn't think of that. Wow. Okay. His blood type is S. He is the man with the biggest brain in the world. He is part of the SSG and as team leader. He is from the Grand Line, Karakuri Island, future country of Bulgemore, I guess it's called now. It's originally called Baltimore. His favorite food is apple pie, coffee, and macaroni spaghetti. Of course, he is the user of the Nomi Nomi no Mi, otherwise known as the Brain Fruit. And he is now deceased. Now, we got some random information about some minor characters. Hack. Hack is an archaeologist who would often throw parties for the scholars of O'Hara in order to cheer them up. We have Hocha, a socially awkward scholar who was quite self-conscious at the time. He could also tell a lot about his comrades by how much he observed them. And then we have Roche, a scholar who put a particular valiant effort in preserving the books of the Library of O'Hara at the cost of his life. So, have those guys. And then we have some more scholars from O'Hara. We have Graham, a prodigy archaeologist who saw Nico Olivia as an older sister, almost joined her on the Poneglyph expedition, but she was too young. Then we have Zadie, an archaeologist who often spent a lot of time looking after Robin at the Library of O'Hara to ensure that she wouldn't feel alone. Then we have Bushiri, an archaeologist specializing in history of bombs, as indicated by his shirt. And then we have Rento, a motherly archaeologist specializing in culinary history. She often cooked for the other scholars, who all happen to be picky eaters. And I believe they're talking about the larger woman who has the shirt with all the hearts on it. That's pretty cool. We've seen her a lot in the O'Hara flashbacks. Following them, we have the weird crew of the Germ Pirates from the beige cover story. We have Sky Khan Kentai, a member of the crew that loves scaring people with his skull that's on his hat. Due to a policy of not physically harming people, he fights spreading germs. So he's the weird boy in the back with the vertically striped shirt. Then we have Miss Gonwan Piso, which his name just means let's find the One Piece. A large member of the Germ Pirates. Yeah, so he's the large guy in the back, I guess. Then we have Shukhail Tynan, captain of the Germ Pirates in the beige cover story. So he's the guy in the front with the with the sunflower thing on his shirt, and he has the captain's hat. His mouth is cut too, which is interesting. We have Dr. Oh, forgive me with these names. We're going through it, boys. Dr. Raku Setemo, and I cannot read that last part. That's wild. Mad scientist of the Germ Pirates who developed the Kiss Kiss germ, only joined the crew to further his research as he has no interest in piracy. So I guess that's the old geezer over here in like the frog fastened getup. That looks very Chinese in origin. And then we have Shukhail Karen Hoshi. So by the last name, she seems to be the sister. Yeah. The younger sister of the crew's captain. Yes, she's the blue-haired girl with little alien baubles on her head. She's the younger sister of the crew's captain who, despite being selfish and bullying him, she legitimately cares about him. Also, that's cute. I'm glad all of these guys got names because they're very interestingly designed. And I wonder if the whole Kiss Kiss germ thing comes from a Doa fruit. Don't know if that's going to be important at all. Miss Monday and Mr. Nine's baby son is named Nande, which translates to what day is it, which is very funny. Then we have some more random characters. Otaka, which is Higoro's wife, who was killed by Orochi. Very sad. We have Anba, a man from the Flower Capital in Odin's flashback who got struck by a poisoned arrow and lost his sight. He kept believing in Odin even after he started dancing, claiming, "I don't see him dancing." That's kind of based. I like that. And we have Ukari Suribi, a guard who slipped into Odin's pot and burned to death. What a random character to name. His name probably means I slipped in a pot and burned or something like that. Or I was made to burn, probably. I bet you that's what his name is. And then finishing up, we have some more random characters to name. So, the mother of Kawamatsu is named Lirona Tapaka, who is a green wraith fishman or fishmaid, which is interesting that I guess female fishmen are named fishmaids. That's cool. That shipwrecked on the Wano country with her son Kawamatsu, leading to her death. We see her being chased by some residents of Wano because I think they think she is a monster of some sort of yokai. We have Sare, a slaver working under Karma, who was trying to kidnap Toki as a slave. So Karma is the fishman guy. I think he's a squid fishman who now is a remnant of the Whitebeard pirates. Yes, he's an octopus. Excuse me, he's an octopus fishman, and we saw him at Marineford. And yeah, he was in the Odin flashback, and now yeah, he's a remnant of the Whitebeard pirates as he was an ally. So yeah, following him, we actually have the hairdresser who was seen in the Capone Beige cover story as she was cutting Lola's hair at the time. And this is also the first appearance of Prince Groose along with Kujaku, and I believe Prince Groose's Glorp golems as well. So yeah, she gets named too. And now here's a character that I personally like and I've referred to in a video a while back. It's the giant whom I think might be an ancient giant from the Odin flashback, the one who is regarded as being super huge. His name is Ruban-san, a giant from Odin's flashback that had been protecting a treasure on a certain island for decades. Since Whitebeard wasn't interested in the treasure, after fighting, they hit it off and drank together. And the reason why I think he might be an ancient giant is because he's got this bowler hat with horns sticking out of it, and he's carrying a spiked club. So, could be one. Could be. Lastly, we have Sumushu Kamiya, who is a CP9 agent who assisted in the O'Hara Buster Call alongside Spandime and Lasky. Lasky, all right. He's the guy that was standing next to Lasky. Lasky is the father of Khalifa and Alpha. That's cool. And Spandine is the father of Spandam, and he is also the reason why the former CP9 agents got upgraded to CP0, because they found out a plot between him and I believe a former inmate of level 6 of Impel Down. So they busted up what they had going on, and then they all got promoted to CP0. We have Suzumi, which is the rooster that Jabra was looking after during the Enies Lobby arc. Following that, we have a confirmation of Koala's mother, whose name is Muti, or Muti, and she's the one who sold out Fisher Tiger. And lastly, we've got the big boy, the father of Don Quixote Miosgard, Don Quixote Silvacalero. I cannot pronounce this, oh my god. Silvacalero, I guess. Father of Saint Don Quixote Miosgard, looked down on Homing for abandoning his status. Well, yeah, he was very displeased. And I guess he has passed now, probably from being too obese. So, that is everything. Very long video, very big video. I hope you enjoy, and I apologize for my pronunciation of all these Japanese names. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?